During the 1920s, the United States of America saw unprecedented growth, with manufacturing and trade at an all-time high. It was an age of jazz, cultural revolution, advancements across science and culture, from aviation to literature, art, and music. Advertising was a brand new industry, and consumers were its brand new product. By the end of the Roaring Twenties, increasing income inequality, a volatile global market, the infamous stock market crash of 1929, bank runs, drought, and record unemployment all left the average American in dire economic straits. President Herbert Hoover organized temporary relief programs, establishing the President's Emergency Committee on Unemployment, as well as the President's Organization for Unemployment Relief. Hoover implored Americans to remain calm, to keep working and spending, and above all, to stay positive. Welcome to History in Letters and Memoirs Great Depression series. This collection intends to be a living history that draws from two books, Down and Out in the Great Depression, Letters from the Forgotten Man by Robert S. McIlvaine, and Dear Mrs. Roosevelt, Letters from Children of the Great Depression by Robert Cohen. Each installment in this series features a selection of letters organized by topic, with a few excerpts from Cohen, McIlvaine, and other sources to provide additional context. Although these letters were written almost a century ago, their content feels unnervingly close. Because Cohen and McIlvaine have taken great care to faithfully transcribe each letter as it was written, every letter is displayed on screen as it is read. Images from the time period accompany the text. I try my best to read word for word, but at times I make minor changes to language and sentence structure. I claim sole responsibility for any mistakes in interpretation. Likewise, cadence and tone of voice are my subjective attempt to convey the deep feeling with which 1930s Americans wrote to their presidents and politicians, sharing their lives, their despair, their hope, and their need. President Hoover, White House, Washington, D.C. Honorable Sir, I am 50 years old. For many years, I have been a house-to-house canvasser through good times and bad. After canvassing Akron, Ohio, Canton, Ohio, and Fremont, Ohio, as well as Detroit, Michigan, I say the American people are wonderful. During the past 9 months, I have encountered poverty, worry, and patience. The people endure hard times without evidence of rancor or disloyalty. Many men try daily for employment. The hard times have served to emphasize the loyalty, the patience, the stoic-like qualities of American citizenry. I wish they could get employment. Their wives and children pray for it. Justice cries for it. The heart of humanity must heed. Sincerely, L.J.B. Fremont, Ohio, December 21st, 1930. Colonel Arthur Woods, Chairman of the U.S. Committee on Civic and Emergency Measures. Dear Sir, I thought I would write and ask you if the government can advise a person of some new foreign country or some big island away out in the ocean where a fellow can go and build up a home. This United States is getting, or has got, too many poor laboring people in it for the good of everybody, and from now on, the schools and colleges in these United States will be turning loose on a glutted labor market about 15 million more young common labor pick and shovel men. Besides, they do not need men to work anymore. They have machinery to do the heavy work. That is fine if we could find something else to do, but there is nothing else to do. A man cannot work for less than 50 cents per hour, 8 hours per day, and pay for his room and board. You may say, it does not cost a man $4 a day, But you must understand, there is a Sunday in each week and a lot of holidays that a company will not let a man work. We have an awful fine government in this U.S. if we can keep good honest men at the head of it, but dishonest and the men at the head of this government would ruin it in a very short time. The President of the U.S. has a big job, and I am for President Hoover regardless. Yours truly, G.B. Amarillo, Texas, November 1930. Mr. Walter S. Gifford, Director of POOR, the President's Organization for Unemployment Relief, Washington, D.C. Surely, it is a most heart-rendering life of poverty cast upon capable workers by unintelligent and cold-blooded ruling of our native country. Engineers may be intelligent, but poor presidents. Death looks better, and you money grubbers who have it all and want the earth besides would be happy if we did die, and we poor old poverty illegible in most of our conditions. You men must answer for degraded selfishness. Yeah, it's for you, big fellow, to scratch your head and smile, but I hope to God your backbone will be scratching your stomachs from emptiness before you die, and God's vengeance will be a cruel deal to all of you guilty. Shame on all you money grubbers who laugh now, but may you and your families have torture from God if you're guilty of betraying us. M.T. Los Angeles, California, September 1st, 1931. President Herbert Hoover, The White House, Washington, D.C. Dear Sir, I am persuaded to write you concerning aid to unemployment. I hope this movement will be speeded up so people in Pottstown will feel and know the results before cold weather comes upon us, the struggling, starving, working-class, undernourished men, women, and children. It really is alarming that this so-called prosperous nation that we must suffer on account of a few men seeking power and rule and have laws passed to suit themselves. I am one of the men out of work, but the rich don't care so long as they have full and plenty. I hope relief will be coming soon, and some action, not just paper talk. Oh, the people have been so much belied that you cannot believe anything, only what you can see. I hope that Wall Street will never have the power again to cause such a panic upon the people. Money tied up, hoarded up, it is a crime. I hope the guilty gang will be punished before they die. I say this whole panic was brought on by a dishonest group, which I hope will be punished. Anonymous. Pottstown, Pennsylvania, October 30th, 1930. President Herbert Hoover, Washington, D.C. My dear Mr. Hoover, it is my purpose to write you a short letter and to cheer you along with your trying undertakings. During the war, I had a brief interview with you when I was fuel administrator at Annapolis, and although I well remember you, yet it may be that I am not even a memory to you. However, I was so favorably impressed that I worked for you when you were elected president, although I appeared to have been born a Democrat. In these days of unrest and general dissatisfaction, it is absolutely impossible for a man in your position to get a clear and impartial view of the general conditions of things in America today. But of this fact I am very positive, that there is not 5% of the poverty, distress, and general unemployment that many of your enemies would have us believe. It is true that there is much unrest, but this unrest is largely caused by the excessive prosperity and general debauchery through which the country has traveled since the period of the war. The result being that in 3 cases out of 4, the unemployed is looking for a very light job at a very heavy pay, and with the privilege of being provided with an automobile if he is required to walk more than 4 or 5 blocks a day. National Relief Director Walter S. Gifford and his committee are entirely unnecessary at this time, as it has a tendency to cause communities to neglect any temporary relief to any of their people with the thought of passing the burden on to the National Committee. I am also of the opinion that the suggested $5 billion loan that the Hearst papers have been agitating is an impractical, foolish, and unnecessary burden and obligation that they would place upon the shoulders of future posterity to pay off. One of the days, when I am in Washington, I shall hope to greet you in person for 2 or 3 minutes, and during the interval believe me to be one of your well-wishers in this ocean of conflict. Yours sincerely, W.H.H., Contractor and Builder Real Estate Insurance Mortgages, Annapolis, Maryland, September 10th, 1931. Mr. Walter Gifford, New York City. Dear Sir, just listened in on your radio address. I can't believe that your intelligence allows you to believe that what you said tonight will be swallowed by the rank and file of American working men. Certainly their intelligence tells them that it's the same old bunkum handed out every depression. You said, this emergency is only temporary and therefore requires temporary relief. It's going to be the longest temporary relief you ever saw, and before this thing is over, it's going to be national government relief, and the working men are to be insured against unemployment and want. You say wages have and are being reduced only to correspond to reduced cost of living. Why haven't you reduced telephone rates? While Mr. Gifford was the director of the President's Organization for Unemployment Relief, he was also the head of AT&T. Ha, ha. This is only one instance of hundreds I could tell you of tonight. Light and fuel have not dropped in price. Poor man's necessities. President Hoover called your crowd together a few months ago, and you all faithfully promised to keep wages up. Papers were out in heavy type. How you all made such promises, and it was only the same old story, not even worth a scrap of paper. You capitalists are up against it this time. And this good old USA is going to get down to the real facts, that this government is really meant for a rule by the people, of the people, for the people. C.M. Check. P.S. If I could listen to your talk over the radio, you might be game enough to read this letter. Double check. Mr. Secretary, dare you to give this to the boss. Triple check. As I have a lot of Hoover time on my hands, would like to improve it. Please let me know where I can get some socialist literature. Madison, New Jersey, September 27th, 1931, 7:30 p.m. Colonel Arthur Woods, Director, President's Committee. Dear Sir, I have none of these things that the rich have. What do they care how much we suffer, how much the health of our children is menaced? Now I happen to know there is something can be done about it, and Oil City needs to be awakened up to that fact and compelled to act. Now that our income is but $15.60 a week, there are 5 of us, my husband, 3 little children, and myself. My husband, who is a World War veteran and saw active service in the trenches, became desperate and applied for compensation or a pension from the government and was turned down. And that started me thinking. Author's note. In 1924, Congress had agreed to pay World War veterans a bonus in 1945. During the Depression, the demand grew for the immediate payment of that bonus. The pressure reached its peak in the summer of 1932, when some 20,000 veterans took part in a bonus expeditionary force that converged on Washington. Although the bonus army was hardly revolutionary, General Douglas MacArthur drove the veterans out of Washington. The job of removing the peaceful campers was accomplished with tear gas, bayonets, and 6 tanks. There should be enough to pay all World War veterans a pension, disabled or not disabled, and thereby relieve a lot of suffering, and banish resentment that causes rebellions and Bolshevism. Oh, why is it that it is always a bunch of overly rich, selfish, dumb, ignorant money hogs that persist in being senators, legislatures, representatives? Where would they and their possessions be if it were not for the common soldier, the common laborer that is compelled to work for a starvation wage? For I tell you again, the hog of a landlord gets his. There is not enough left for the necessaries if a man has 3 or more children. Not so many years ago in Russia, all the sufferings of poverty, and you could never feel them, you are on the other side of the fence, but try to understand, conceived a child. That child was brought forth in agony, and its name was Bolshevism. I am on the other side of the fence from you. You are not in a position to see, but I can see and feel and understand. I have lived and suffered too. I know, and right now our good old USA is sitting on a seething volcano. In the public schools, our little children stand at salute and recite a rigmarole in which is mentioned justice to all. What a lie, what a naked lie, when honest, law-abiding citizens, descendants of revolutionary heroes, Civil War heroes, and World War heroes are denied the privilege of owning their own homes, that foundation of good citizenship, good morals, and the very foundation of good government the world over. Is all that our soldiers of all wars fought, bled, and died for to be sacrificed to a god-awful hideous rebellion in which all of our citizens will be involved because of the dumb bungling of rich politicians? Oh, for a few statesmen. Oh, for but one statesman as fearless as Abraham Lincoln the Emancipator, who died for us, and who said, "You can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all of the people all of the time." Here's hoping you have read this to the end and think it over. I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Very truly yours, Mrs. M.E.B. Oil City, Pennsylvania, December 15th, 1930. Creating a living history is not without expense. If you would like to support the channel, please consider making a donation. I've put a link in the description. You can also support by hitting the like button, subscribing and turning on notifications so you don't miss a video, and dropping a comment below on which letter catches your attention and why. Turn to the person next to you and tell them what caught your attention and why. Ask them for their perspective. Listen, respond, connect, continue. Thank you for keeping this history alive. Apart from assistance in creating a caption file, History in Letters and Memoir is an AI-free channel. Herbert Hoover, Washington, D.C. Could we not have employment and food to eat, and this for our children? Why should we have to
illegible
now and have foodless days and
illegible
days, and our children have schoolless days and shoeless days, and the land full of plenty and banks bursting with money? Why does everything have exceptional value except the human being? Why are we reduced to poverty and starving and anxiety and sorrow so quickly under your administration? As chief executor, can you not find a quicker way of executing us than to starve us to death? Why not end the depression? Have you not a heart? Yet we are severed from the source of life by such an unjust system. Why isn't there a limitation to you people planning to get it all and starve the rest of us? Yet you have cut us off, with plenty before our eyes, for yourselves. Yet you cannot use it. The people are desperate. Of this I have written, only typical of the masses of your subjects. How can we be law-abiding citizens and educate our children and be happy, content, with nothing to do, nothing to eat, when your system has everything under control and can't use it? Nor will you give anything away. Why take more than you need? Why make laws and allow industry to take it all? Why isn't the law fixed so it's just as just for one or the others? Then industry couldn't take it all and make us all victims of your special arrangement of things. I am an ignorant man, and you are supposed to have great brains, yet I appeal to you in behalf of thousands in your dominion who would be good American citizens, if you would make it possible. Anonymous. Vineland, New Jersey, November 18th, 1930. Hoover is my shepherd. I am in want. He maketh me to lie down on park benches. He leadeth me by still factories. He restoreth my doubt in the Republican Party. He guided me in the path of the unemployed for his party's sake. Yea, though I walk through the alley of soup kitchens, I am hungry. I do not fear evil, for thou art against me. Thy cabinet and thy senate, they do discomfort me. Thou didst prepare a reduction in my wages. In the presence of my creditors thou anointed my income with taxes. So my expense overrunneth my income. Surely poverty and hard times will follow me all the days of the Republican administration, and I shall dwell in a rented house forever. Amen. E. J. Sullivan. The 1932nd Psalm. Many thanks to the historians and archivists whose painstaking work preserves our history. Many more thanks to the forgotten men, women, and children from the Depression era whose words reach through time, offering wisdom and warning.